This is life in Bulgaria, the cheapest country in Europe, where they buy wives for just a few dollars. Imagine stepping into a dusty square in the heart of the Balkans. All around you, the air quivers with a blend of folk music and anxious murmurs. In the center, a line of young women in sparkling outfits arranges itself like an improvised catwalk. There is no shame, no secrecy. They are here to be seen and chosen. Thus begins Bulgaria's strange, disconcerting and provocative bride market. Yes, you heard correctly. In the 21st century, in a rural corner of Europe, fairs still exist where wives are purchased. Not in darkness or hidden away, but under the sun, as though they were horses or cattle. A tradition as ancient as it is provocative, one that sparks wonder and controversy, yet for some people it is simply the natural way things have been done for generations. Welcome to Bulgaria, the continent's cheapest country, where mountains conceal centuries-old secrets and where love, or something that resembles it, can be negotiated for the price of a used mobile phone. Every year, near the city of Stara Zagora, or in areas such as Sliven, one of these fairs that seem torn from another era is held. They are called Roma bride markets, but what happens there goes far beyond mere tradition. Young people from the Rom community, an ethnic minority living on society's margins, arrive hoping to find a partner. Families arrange meetings, men look on, girls smile shyly, and then the haggling begins. The price of a wife, sometimes around 1,000 euros, other times only a few hundred, on occasion even less. Everything depends on beauty, age, reputation, and of course, the bargaining skill of the parents. It is a game of appearances, of calculated gestures, of speeches that disguise the purchase with words like engagement, alliance, honor. But deep down everyone knows it is a transaction, a sweet and dangerous transaction where young bodies are exhibited like jewels in a shop window. Some call it a celebration of culture, others a human meat market. And amid so much Western judgment, the protagonists, those girls who nervously paint their lips, who lower their eyes when evaluated, who dream of escaping or of being chosen by someone good, remain there, repeating the rite year after year. Yet not everything is as simple as it seems, because although the custom may scandalize, there are nuances that bewilder. Many of those young women want to be there. They wish to marry soon. They see in the fair a chance to improve their lives. Some do it to flee broken homes, others out of a desire to form a family. There are even those who dream of falling in love with the boy who offers them the most. In a Bulgaria where poverty still bites hard, especially in Roma areas, early marriage is not merely an option. It is nearly a salvation. Women are taught from girlhood how to please, how to move, how to look without seeming bold yet not submissive, how to cook, how to care for children, how to manage the home without complaint. Virginity remains a trophy, the female role, an iron inheritance, and incredible as it may seem, the sexual freedom Europe celebrates is still a whispered taboo here. Beauty is a currency, but not magazine beauty, a beauty with internal codes, fair skin within the ethnicity, long hair, small waist, delicate walk, everything judged as if fine livestock. Each gesture, each smile can raise or lower a young woman's value in the eyes of a potential husband and his family. And what of them? The men strut in tight shirts, shiny watches, and cars rented for the occasion. Though they are in debt up to their necks, they will do anything to appear successful during the event, because that day is their only chance to impress, to be the alpha male, to grab the best piece in the market. The ceremony is loud, colourful, almost festive. There is music, dancing, food. Mothers watch anxiously, fathers calculate figures in their heads, children, sometimes very young, swap furtive glances while their futures are decided in minutes. The most curious thing is that there is no violence, no chains, no confinement, only a learned social dance, millinery, that hides a brutal reality behind a folkloric mask. An implicit contract where desire is secondary and duty sacred. Among the crowd, Western eyes gaze in wonder, in judgment, in morbid fascination. They ask whether this is real, legal, possible. But for the locals, it is just another Saturday. Another attempt to sustain a tradition that refuses to die even while the modern world breathes down its neck. How would you feel if you knew that for the price of one phone you could have a wife? Would you be scandalized? Or would the idea tempt you, love that is bought, negotiated, tied with figures? Bulgaria, that land of gentle mountains, communist architecture, and affordable bars, hides within its depths rituals that defy time and morality. Because behind the low cost of living, behind beers at €1 and apartments for minimal rent, there lies something far more complex, a society where desire and need blur, and where bodies can still bear a price, and this is only the beginning. In Bulgaria, love does not always arrive by chance, nor by poetry, nor by Cupid's arrow. Here, love is planned, taught, inherited like a family recipe, and many times it has nothing to do with desire. After the bride market comes something even more intriguing: the married life that follows. What happens after a young woman has been bought, or more elegantly, betrothed? What kind of life awaits her behind walls where secrets as ancient as the Rhodope Mountains simmer? Once across the threshold of marriage, the Bulgarian woman, especially within traditional communities, assumes an almost ceremonial role. Youth is no excuse. Sometimes barely 15 or 16 years old, she becomes the cornerstone of a small domestic universe. No preparation, no choice. Only the instructions of mothers and grandmothers who came before. The first night is symbolic and often observed with a mix of voyeurism and ritual. In some villages it is still celebrated with a white veil, a decorated room, and in the worst cases the physical proof of virginity. Yes, the white cloth stained with blood can still be expected, as if the female body were a contract that must be sealed with carnal witness. And if there is no blood, people whisper. They doubt, they condemn, but no one says it aloud. Silence, like everything in Bulgaria, is part of the custom. In the first days of married life, the wife is watched by everyone. How does she cook? How does she behave? Does she rise early? Does she submit? Even her manner of walking will be commented upon. The mother-in-law is usually the first judge, because it is not merely about pleasing the husband but the entire family that has received her as one would acquire a treasure to be polished. Sensuality here is complex. It is not expressed as in Paris or Milan. No short dresses, no spontaneous dates. It is a contained sensuality, almost dangerous, hidden in a lowered gaze, in lips timidly painted, in the gesture of serving coffee without speaking. Everything a woman does can be read as virtue or threat. Meanwhile, men have a different freedom. They go out, work, drink. They are often the providers, but also the ones who bear the burden of displaying manhood. In many cases, their virility is measured by the number of women they have desired, though only one is the wife. Infidelity is an open secret, a cultural crack ignored as long as it causes no scandal. And yet, there is love, or at least something that resembles it. Over the years, many of these couples grow together. They become accustomed. They understand each other with glances. Love does not spring forth. It is cultivated like stubborn soil. Sometimes it blooms, sometimes it does not, but it endures. Curiously, the tradition does not end at the wedding. It continues every day, in every gesture, in every unwritten rule. Women learn they must keep the house quiet, must endure certain words, certain impulses. Passion, if it exists, is private, hidden like a fire that must not be made public. And here lies Bulgaria's true mystery, how desire survives in a place so vigilantly observed. In the most closed villages, superstitions about the female body still linger. Some believe hair should not be cut during pregnancy, that sleeping with feet toward the door brings death, or that sex on certain days can bring bad luck to the baby. Others believe a woman who refuses her husband can fall ill, and that if a wife does not conceive soon, something demonic may dwell within her. Thus, among myths and customs, a woman's body does not fully belong to her. It is terrain shared among husband, family, folk beliefs, and social expectations. Even so, there is room for rebellion. Some young girls, especially in cities like Sofia or Plovdiv, no longer wish to follow that destiny. They rebel quietly, wearing bolder clothes, speaking of independence, dreaming of fleeing to another country where love comes without clauses or prices. But those who live in remote villages still walk the marked path. From 13 years old, they are prepared to be wives. They are taught to dance gracefully, cook quickly, smile without speaking much. Mothers whisper advice handed down through generations, like spells to avoid marital failure. A man needs respect, not questions, one mother tells her daughter as she adjusts the veil. Love comes later. First, obedience, another warns while teaching her how to fold sheets without wrinkles. Is it love or a learned illusion? Is it passion or survival in disguise? Meanwhile, the men attending these bride fairs also bear a burden. Though it seems they hold all the power, they too are cogs in a mechanism that demands success, strength, and above all, no display of weakness. They must pay for their wives like someone buying something that validates manhood, and if they cannot, their reputation sinks. Desire then becomes a game of appearances, a silent theatre where each person plays the role assigned. Some dream of tearing up the script, others only wish the play to end without scandal. Yet deep down, everyone carries the same question. How does one love in a place where love is not a choice? Such is life in Bulgaria, a country where the price of a ring can matter more than caresses, where streets abound with glances that never meet, and where words of love must still be whispered, if uttered at all. And still, the country keeps moving, changing, splitting slowly from within, but without anyone fully noticing. In Bulgaria, sensuality is not an explosion, it is a constant whisper. It is not shown with plunging necklines or bare bodies, but with dances, symbols, lingering looks that last just one heartbeat longer than permitted. And in that pause, in that silent tremor of pupils, the oldest provocation occurs. The game of seduction. Courting traditions in rural Bulgaria still carry a symbolic charge so potent they seem drawn from another century. Here, simple gestures bristle with insinuation. If a man offers a rose without speaking a word, it means he has chosen. If the woman accepts without smiling, it means she reciprocates. But that is only the surface. Behind the delicate act lies an entire universe of codes. Long ago, and in some villages still today, courting began with an unexpected visit. The interested young man would present himself at the girl's home with a loaf of bread or a bottle of rakia, Bulgaria's quintessential liquor. Yet it would not be drunk right away. It was a symbol of intentions, a silent way of saying, "I am here for something more than conversation." If the father accepted the drink, the conversation would begin, and if the mother served coffee, the whole process could move forward. But the most interesting moments came afterward. The young girl, usually between 14 and 17 years old, had to display her abilities, never with words, but with her hands. She might shape bread, embroider a handkerchief in front of him, or quietly recite a traditional song. It was a kind of silent dance in which every gesture built desire, and he, the suitor, watched in silence because to desire aloud was considered bad manners. In the south of the country, especially in regions where Pomak communities, Bulgarian Muslims, still hold fast to their customs, courtship involves even more intense rituals. A girl interested in a young man could place an embroidered handkerchief in her window facing the street. It was an invitation, yet only if the cloth carried red thread, colour of passion, did it mean that her heart had already chosen. And if the boy touched the edge of that fabric at night, she knew a clandestine conversation would follow, sometimes under the moon, sometimes in shadow, far from judging eyes. Desire in these lands must hide in order to survive. There are also dances that are, in essence, erotic games wearing the mask of tradition. Like the horo, the Bulgarian circle dance performed at weddings and festivals. Though group-oriented and seemingly innocent, its steps and positions say more than any declaration. A young man may stand behind the girl he wants and touch her waist as they turn. If she does not step away, if she lets him repeat the gesture, the bodies have already begun to speak. In some villages, the first kiss still does not happen before engagement. Other gestures replace it, offering a perfumed handkerchief, holding her wrist for a second as though testing the pulse of a desire still warm. And we cannot forget the grandmothers, the true guardians of the rules of love. They give counsel, read invisible signs, translate young bodies' language. Often, if a grandmother senses her granddaughter is desired by a dishonorable boy, she cuts in with a phrase sharp as a knife. "He is not for you. His eyes are loose." The language brims with such symbols. Loose eyes means promiscuous. Soft hands implies the man does not work hard. Smelling of the fields suggests he comes from good earth, noble family, even if poor. And a boy who looks with his feet never stands still, a restless spirit who will never stay. Yet not everything happens in villages. In the cities, courtship has changed, retaining traces of the old ways. In Sofia, many young people blend social networks with inherited superstitions. A girl may check her horoscope on TikTok, yet still keeps a red thread tied to her wrist to shield her heart from unrequited love. And yes, some still believe in love spells. The so-called babushki, elder women who perform rituals, are secretly consulted by teens who want to win someone's heart or revive a fading romance. Legend has it that if a girl pours honey on the left shoe of the man she desires and leaves it beneath the bed for 3 nights, her image will appear in his dreams. Effective? Perhaps not. Seductive? Without a doubt. Another popular belief claims that if you eat a basil leaf given by the person you desire, love will seal itself in silence, unseen by anyone else. In Bulgaria, silence carries a sensual weight. It is not about shouting love, but about tightening an invisible rope between two bodies little by little. But what happens when desire ignores the rules? When a girl loves an older man, an outsider, or more secretly, another woman? In many Bulgarian regions, that is still taboo. Relationships outside the mold must live in shadow. Glances must be hidden, caresses swift, furtive, almost guilty. Desire is not forbidden in Bulgaria, but it must behave. It must follow the script, meet expectations, fit the role assigned at birth. So when someone breaks free, dares to love without permission, the tale turns to legend. Such is the story of Mila, a young woman who, it is whispered near Plovdiv, fled with a Romani musician the night before her arranged wedding. She was never seen again. Some say she lives in Italy. Others say she died of sorrow. Her story is repeated softly as a warning or a hymn to freedom. These are Bulgaria's courtship rituals, a dance between tradition and desire, between watchful eyes and restless hands, between duty and temptation. Everything unfolds slowly, like a fire kindled with thin splinters. The first time a traveller arrives in Sliven in eastern Bulgaria, she never imagines that its dusty streets, faded buildings and harsh air conceal one of Europe's most unusual events. It is unmarked by posters, absent from guidebooks, yet it happens 2 times a year, an ancestral custom that refuses to die. The bride market. Yes, just as you read. A market where young girls, many underage, show themselves, parade, smile, and sometimes are offered in marriage for a few thousand lev, the Bulgarian currency. At times the price drops below that of a latest generation television. This tradition belongs to the Kalderash community, a group within the Romani people fiercely protective of its culture. Though unofficial, the event is as real as the dust coating every shoe. Men wear shiny shirts. Girls don sequined dresses, heavy makeup, fixed gazes. Contestants whose prize is not a crown but a new life. Some justify it as protecting young women, ensuring marriage within the community with someone the family approves. Others, in hushed tones, see it for what it is, a transaction, a deal disguised as tradition, an exchange of desire, power, and money. Beyond the first shock lies the unsettling normality. Few are scandalized. Children play, vendors sell drinks and snacks, music booms like any village fair. Laughter rings out, conversations buzz, eyes negotiate without words. At the heart of it all, men haggle figures with girls' parents, while the girls stand waiting to be chosen, some nervous, others resigned, a few hopeful. For many, marriage, even under such terms, is an escape hatch, a way out of slums, a shield against forced weddings to distant relatives, a breath of new air. But what follows after one is bought. What life begins when the market closes and the glittering dress is stored away? There is no simple answer. Some unions prove stable. Entire families swear their daughters are happy, living in better houses with hard-working husbands. Others end in abandonment, awkward silences, broken promises. All of this unfolds in a country that moves forward and backward at once. In Sofia, main avenues gleam with modern cafes, art galleries, technology. Stray a few streets and you find rubbish-strewn roads, stray dogs, buildings cracked by time. In Plovdiv, one of the oldest cities on earth, Roman ruins sit beside markets where meat lies unrefrigerated and flies are part of the scene. In Varna, a beautiful coastal city, hotel luxury contrasts with outskirts where poverty clings like a root that will not yield. Bulgaria is Europe's cheapest nation, true, but the low cost carries a human price. Poverty forces drastic choices. Some families marry off daughters they cannot afford. Others follow an outdated cultural frame. Need mixed with tradition creates situations shocking to outsiders, but for locals they are scenery. In some villages, even outside Romani circles, one still hears, "Better to marry her young so she does not spoil." As though youth were perishable goods, as though desire must be trapped before it ripens. Romantic love comes second. Usefulness, structure, family order come first. Meanwhile, countless Bulgarian girls dream of another life, of leaving, of meeting men from other cultures where they may choose. Thus their social media pages brim with sensual selfies, clumsy English phrases, suggestive messages to foreign men. They seek escape even if through a chat, for in their world desire is always watched, conditioned. Sex tourism in Bulgaria grows in the shadows. Men from Nordic lands, Britain or Germany, visit cities like Burgas or Blagoevgrad, seeking experiences with women who, for a few euros, offer company. Many do not call themselves prostitutes, but temporary companions. They rent themselves by the hour, the night for affection, single mothers, students unable to pay rent, acting discreetly, blending pride and resignation. Some accept it as reality. A Sofia taxi driver sums it up. In Bulgaria, the body is worth less because the soul is tired. There is no time for fantasies, only survival. Yet darkness is not all. Amid tradition and despair, youth movements strive for change. Feminist collectives, gender equality groups, artists denouncing bride markets, forced marriages, rural objectification of women. In provincial schools, some teachers tell girls they have the right to say no, that worth is not in virginity, youth, or meekness. They may study, travel, decide. The road is slow, yet it has begun to open. Still, the contrast endures. Bulgaria is a place where you can eat for $3, sleep for $5, and if you know where to look, find a promise of love wrapped in sequins for a few more. Ultimately, the question is not the cost. The real question is, what is the value of a life you did not choose? When night falls, Bulgaria seems to gain a second face. Quiet streets stretch into long shadows, taverns fill with muffled laughter, and old tales whispered for generations awaken, granted permission by the dark. In the oldest villages, people still speak of the Samodivas, female spirits of breathtaking beauty. They roam Bulgarian forests under full moons, combing golden hair, luring lone men with song. Enchanted, the men vanish, dead, transformed, or surrendering reality to follow impossible women. Are they real? Or do they symbolize the unspoken desire many hide? In a land where wives are bought and love bargained like merchandise, The Samodivas personify a forbidden fantasy, desire free, untamed, feminine, fierce. Perhaps that is why they are feared. They are not the only legend of desire and power. In the Rhodope Mountains, it is said an ancient cult endures, heir to Thracian rites, where fertility was worshipped through naked dances beside secret fires. Some women, descendants of those priestesses, still perform those dances silently under blood oath, pleading for pleasure and abundance. Such myths coexist with a country split between modernity and tradition, shopping mall luxury in Sofia versus unheated homes in forgotten villages, women fighting for autonomy versus women offered as pledges of obedience. And still Bulgaria seduces, not with bright lights or easy promises, but with thick air laden with history, contradictions, mysteries buried deep. Sensuality here is cultural as much as physical. In folk dances whose tribal rhythms hypnotize, in traditional costumes hinting with embroidery at what skin conceals, in glances exchanged in cafes, half shy, half yearning, in courtship rituals where a gifted handkerchief may mean yes and a lapel flower a secret vow. Bulgaria is cheap, they say, yet cheapness often hides an invisible fee. Every gesture, every custom is a layer covering one still deeper. Nothing is what it seems, and everything is steeped in that ancient desire to survive, to love, to dominate. At times the forbidden becomes habit, the sensual becomes system. Thus, the country becomes a perfect stage for a story you cannot look away from, a seductive mirage promising the unknown, yet when touched, returning questions, not answers. And you? If you had to choose between freedom and tradition, if you could buy love with a handful of banknotes, if a furtive glance might change your fate, would you dare? Bulgaria will not proclaim its secret aloud, but in every corner, every grimy city, every ancient dance or veiled smile, it hides one, discoverable only by those willing to be tempted.